I would like to thank Caressa Midnight for sending me this story. And this is a controversial story that is coming out of the Boston Museum of the Arts. And we already know where this is headed because it says Boston. It's Boston, of all places. Boston is one of the few places in America that still has sundown towns. So, to the black people that are going to certain parts of towns, this is a good time of the year for you to stay over there as long as you want, as long as you're out of there at least by 9. But when the winter hits, you got better be out of there before 5. But anyway, there's this controversy that came up at this museum right here, where it was this. We had these 12 and 13-year-old black kids walking around in this museum, and there was this staff there that was working there, basically following them around, and just them, only them, even though they were with a group of other kids who were white, but they followed them around. That's a common thing that they done, especially back in the day. I don't know if I really see it as much now, but back then it was heavily common, because it was always the stigma that black people steal. Even though, now I'm not even going to go into that, but they were basically following them around, and then they said that they ended up yelling at these 12 and 13-year-old black kids, telling them not to touch anything in the exhibit, while completely ignoring the white students that were there that were probably doing the same thing. Then they said that the staff told the group, no food, no drink, and no watermelon. They could have stopped at no food and no drink, but they had to throw in no watermelon. As we all know, watermelon was always seen to black people, especially when it came from white people, as a derogatory thing. You know, with the watermelon, the fried chicken, the Kool-Aid, all of that. Because when you think about, in the corn, because when you think about those minstrel images, that's how they always saw us, as some corn chucking, watermelon chewing, Kool-Aid drinking, fried chicken munching, jigaboos. That's how they saw us. In a way, that's still how they see us, even though today everybody consumes that, but they always threw it onto us. Then they said that the museum said there was no way to definitively confirm or deny what was said, but added it will provide additional training for all frontline staff on engaging with school groups. They always do that. You cannot train out racism from something that's internal. You can't do that. They tried that with the Starbucks thing. They always do it with the police. Now they're doing it here with them. Boston, Massachusetts is one of the most racist places in the establishment. Mark Wahlberg is a product of Boston, and we saw how he got down back in his Marky Mark days, back in the 90s. But that did not indict him as far as a career goes. He still has a career. Let that have been a black person did what Mark Wahlberg did back in the day, they would have no career. They would make them fade into obscurity, and we would never hear from them again. But this whole thing about, we got to give them training and train the racism away, that's not how it works. If it's something that's in them, it will always be there. Even if they try to suppress it, it will have a little bit of it will always come out. Even if it's not full blown, it will always remain. It's not going anywhere. There's not enough training in the world that'll cause them to completely do a 180 or even a full 360. But it says that an English teacher at the Davis Leadership Academy in Boston complained about the racial profiling of her class of black and minority pupils in a Facebook post. And it said it was shared 1,000 times. It said, we were instructed not to touch any of the artifacts in the museum, yet the white students there touched the display several times while security looked on without saying anything. Like I said, it's Boston. It's Boston. The only thing that they really like in Boston like that is anything sports related. Let's see. This is the minute one of our students follow suit, the security guards will yell at them and that they would not touch exhibits. It says the students became agitated because of this treatment, and she gathered them to leave as a result. The worst part about all this is seeing the hurt look on my children's faces, as this was their first time experiencing racism firsthand. Well, it's a good thing that they experienced it now. That way they know how to deal with it later, especially later on in life. I always said that black people are going to get our wake-up calls from palm colored, and it's best to get it when we're younger. That way we'll know how to deal with it when we're older, because some people who are older have never gone through it, and that's why a lot of them be panicking and don't know what the hell be going on. That's why it be killing me sometimes when I see black people say like whenever something racist happens on video, and I look at the comments, people be like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. I'm like, are you serious right now? Are you dead serious right now? After all the atrocities we have seen in just like the last 7 years, because I'm going back to Trayvon Martin. I could go back further, but I'm sticking with right now because a lot of people who are saying that are in my age group, unfortunately. In the last 7 years, this still surprises you? Like, they'll be saying, it's 2019, what is going on? I expect to hear that from Palm Color because they don't live in reality. Or they'll try to be as naive as possible. But from us, we should expect that. Should it be happening? No. But unfortunately, it still does. A lot of places still operate on old ways and will prefer to always operate on old ways. They do not want to move forward because it'll take them out of their comfort zone. And they do not like to be uncomfortable. But then it says that the museum responded in an open letter saying that they apologize. And it says they said the museum's going to train staff and how they engage. They shouldn't need training on that. That's something that should come natural. How in the hell are you going to train a group of people who are already steeped in their racist ways? You cannot outdo it because all they'll have to do is say, I won't do it at work. They'll say, when I'm off the clock, that's a different story. But it'll always come through. That's just their nature. Now, I bet you if this is a majority black staff and they reversed it and they was calling these little kids, these little white kids crackers and whatnot, there wouldn't be no training. It would be, you're fired. It would be, find another place to work. That's what it would be. But with white people, they always got to give them an extra inch. Give them more excuses. Because basically what they're saying is, we're giving them this training. They're also trying to, like, indirectly say they didn't know what they were doing. It's not their fault. The amount of excuses that they give them when they do stuff like this is unbelievably uncanny. It's because they know that they can get away with it. They've never had true consequences for their actions on a collective scale when it has come to relations dealing with us. The fact that they're fighting against reparations lets you know that. They'll say, oh, I didn't own slaves and everything like that. Your ancestors did, and you're benefiting off of what they did to our ancestors. They'll say that and then come right back in the same breath and say that they built the establishment. But yeah, like I said, it doesn't surprise me that this happened, and it doesn't surprise me it happened in Boston. It's Boston, Massachusetts, for crying out loud. But those kids learned firsthand that day about racism. They got a little taste of it. Trust me, it could have been a whole lot worse. But they got their wake-up call that day. All you need is one to let you know how the world feels about you. Now, I wonder what the kids said when they went home to their parents and what they said. And sometimes these kids don't even go home and tell their parents because they become so traumatized they don't know who to tell because their parents may not believe them. Or, things like that. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.